it. Vale, buenas noches chicos. Soy Rodin y bienvenidos a Eve Station Trading, episodio 54. Esta noche vamos a hablar de las predicciones de la semana pasada y también el mercado de Immensity. Ahora mismo las cosas que van a vender en Immensity, los precios, oh my goodness. Y también cuando vende cosas en NullSec y, y vende las cosas con precios menos que Jita. ¿Y qué pasó con esto? Y también con market updates. Vamos a continuar a construir capital ships en LOSEC y vamos a hablar de esto. Y finalmente, en Faction Warfare, Gallente y Caldari son iguales en Tier 2. Y vamos a hablar qué pasó con las cosas que puede vender con el LP de estos factions. Pues, empezamos. Alright guys, for those who didn't catch it, we had a request for a Spanish intro from last week, so definitely wanted to oblige that one. It's good Spanish practice. Good Spanish practice. Alright, so just a quick recap. Welcome to episode 54 of Eve Station Trading. Alright, I'm Rodin, and we're going to be going over a few things. We're going to go through our usual predictions. We're gonna go over some market updates in Immensity. I kind of want to go over some other regions as well, but I really don't have as much information as I'd like on that one. So something to kind of play around with maybe in the next few episodes. As far as so I'm going to talk about some observations from those markets, especially prices that make it viable to export from NullSec. I know I've done that before in Providence, but to do it this deep in NullSec, it's actually pretty surprising. I really wasn't expecting it, but I thought people were playing around when they say, hey man, that legacy communist prices, that shit's real, man. That's so real. And then I'm gonna go over my intention. Actually, I'm planning on it, and I'm actually working towards it right now. Actually, returning to building capital ships in LOSEC, not NullSec, just LOSEC. Building it in the Yeti Sotillos in LOSEC in Basgrid. So we'll see how that goes, and kind of why I did that. What's the motivation behind that? In fact, and I'm gonna go over some faction warfare items. Right now, Gallente and Caldari are equally at tier 2, and we'll see what kind of happens when you reach this point where things are basically flipping the other side, or potentially. And of course, we'll have some shill time, and we'll dedicate some time for that one. So hopefully I did the intro not terribly. I didn't even rehearse that one, which was actually kind of good. So I got to do a fresh Spanish intro. Like it's cool, man. So hopefully I can get better at it and actually do more sections in Spanish, or maybe even do kind of like a mirror show of this in Spanish if there's enough people who want to see that. I'm gonna be more than willing to actually do that, in all honesty. Or maybe there's some tech stuff that can happen to make that happen. So we'll see. But we'll go ahead and get started on our calls. Our calls from last week. All right, we started with Plex. So for those of you guys who aren't familiar with kind of our format, I actually look at predictions super fresh. I honestly don't look at it before the show, just so that you can actually see honest reactions. I think more often than not I do get it right, but when I get it wrong, it's really, really wrong. So there's that. Okay, we called Plex as a buy. That was a good call. That was a good call. All right, so let's go back 7 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it's going to continue to not be immediately tradable. But from 7 days ago, it's definitely increased its price. And the thing that I've noticed with the current iteration of it is smaller. It's less. You just can't intraday. You cannot intraday trade this unless you're doing just massive numbers and you're eking by with literally fractions of a percent. But it is a higher value than last week, so it was a good call. It was a good call for a buy. Good call for a buy. You wouldn't have gained that much, honestly. If you were lucky, you probably would have gone this at 2.75, and you can sell it now for 2.9. Maybe sometime during the day you'll get it for 3. Let's check that actually. 2.75 to 3. 9%. That's not bad. That's not bad. But that could potentially be a lot of babysitting. A lot of babysitting during peak hours. So. All right. Our next review. It's gonna be skill injectors. We looked at both sizes last week. Let's start with the large first. Going. That's went sideways. Oh wow, that's actually really interesting. I'm kind of glad I called it at a buy because that was actually a proper buy call last week. Seeing as it progressed for the next 7 days, that was a good buy call. Why would I say that even though it didn't actually flip? You still would have gotten it potentially, assuming you were active enough or lucky enough to have caught this at the lower end of this Donchian channel at maybe right around 730 million, assuming you did that. Right now, yeah, I mean it's actually still sitting there between 730 and 743. There's not much meat on the bone on that one, but that's okay. You still would have gotten it cheap at the. You potentially could have gotten this at the cheapest possible price within the last 90 days. That's something. That's absolutely something. If you captured it then, don't sell it yet. Hold on to it. Even if this goes sideways, I bet you it's gonna eventually creep up to 780. It's reasonable. It's reasonable. Once it starts getting to 780, and then I think the Donchian channel is gonna get a lot more narrow, and you may just start going sideways at that point. I would say this is a good call, but not good enough as far as wanting to flip it within the next 7 days. All right, now let's look at the small. I'm curious whether it follows the same pattern. It tends to, but not at the same. The Donchian channel doesn't tend to be as wide for the smalls, if I remember correctly. Yep, there it is. It's a little different. It's still technically a buy. Kind of like the same story with the large skill injector. The 90-day low. Depending on how the last day Donchians tend to be really wonky, so I wouldn't even actually mess with that too much. But it follows the same pattern as the large skill injectors, where you could have potentially captured it at the 90-day low. Let's say you did at 150. What's it look like now? Same. All right. Same prices currently, but that doesn't really speak of the ranges for the day. Okay. I think it's a good call. Yeah, I honestly believe it's a good call. All right. I'm kind of curious as to how this plays out. I'm I'm curious whether to actually bother looking at this next week. I think there's gonna be more action in 2 weeks versus 1 week, to be honest. But we'll see. We actually do call the big three, Plex, small injectors, and large injectors, quite regularly. We probably shouldn't because it becomes kind of a boring call. You tend, it's not. It becomes very mechanical after a while, and you guys become super proficient at this than I am, honestly. That and most of you guys probably have more cash to play with than I do normally. So, all right, our next buy call from last week: 250 millimeter railgun twos. I'm kind of curious how this played out. I'm guessing this was actually a bad call, to be honest. Actually, no. I'm kind of surprised it wasn't a bad call. All right, let's go back 7 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We hit it right, well, in the beginning of the trade channel. We called it as a buy. Yep. I think that's a decent call for a 90, 120-day window. Definitely not for a weekly window. But if you're more of a, if you play around with that within that time frame, this may have been a good purchase for you if you actually got this. So right now, let's take a look if this is tradable. Or flippable rather, not tradable, but flippable. 1.72. Let's check it out. 18% difference. Wow. I'm kind of curious if there's actually enough volume being dumped into buys to actually make this worthwhile of a risk for your capital. Based on that Danchin, I would say no. You'd be lucky if you actually captured this on buy. Of course it does happen. It's just I think you'd be lucky. Good call, but not necessarily for a 90-day view. Maybe 120. All right, next buy, or the last buy that we called from last week, the Ferox. All right, so it's pretty solid in its trading channel. Let's take a look if it's flippable. Nah, maybe not so much. I mean, that looks pretty right, 36 to 40. But I think you could, within the day, you're probably capturing it like 40, like closer to 42 based on this Danchin, but that's kind of a rarity. I bet you it gets depressed back down to 40 pretty quickly once it reaches like 42, almost 43. But let's take a look. 36 to 40. 11%. With what volume? Sub 100. This would have been a decent play for like a small time or beginning trader, maybe even builder. Because it's not really a volume play. So I think there's some value there for some people, but this is a pretty meh call, to be honest. All right, so those were all our buy calls from last week. I'm fairly happy with them. I think there were decent calls. Nothing spectacular. A lot of the times these are long game type plays, man. I know our time frame to looking at it is a week. That's a good unit of time to look at, but honestly, don't be afraid to tweak that time frame for whatever your particular play style is, or not necessarily even play style, what your need is from the market. All right, so now I'm going to go over our sells. I'm going to start with the Maelstrom. That was a good call. Yeah, that was a good call. That was man, I hope someone offloaded on the day we called it. That would have been awesome. Let's go back 7 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's right at the crest. Oh my goodness. I really hope someone took advantage of it. So basically what this picture is telling us, at the day that we called it 7 days ago, that would have been the time to sell it, because the price action was crest, has already, you're right at the crest, the top possible end before it started going down. It was last week when we called it. So hopefully someone took advantage of it. There's really no point in looking at the price now, because it's fairly deep into the price action. 141 and 151, yeah, it's too tight now. When it starts to get tight like that, basically what that means is the price doesn't know what to do, or not necessarily the price, but the participants in the buying and selling of said item kind of don't know what to do, whether to buy heavy or sell heavy on it. So sometimes it takes some time to figure out, for the natural movement of the price to figure out what to do. All right, guys. So that was a good call. I'm happy with that. Now, mind you, with the volume involved, sub 25, it's not much, but it's one of those. It's one of those dump tactics, basically. Oh, I got 10 maelstroms, so I'm just gonna dump it to buy or sell right now, and hopefully it works out. All right, next one is a Vexor Navy issue. That's a decent call. I mean, we called it as a sell, and it's starting to go down now. But considering where it was in the last 90 days, it's still top end. Now, towards the last few days here, you're seeing it's starting to dip down now. That's a direct result of the faction warfare tier change. That's just how it goes. Whatever is most affected by whatever is the most popularly LP converted item tends to get affected rather quickly when it comes to faction tier control, when the power, when the influence starts to change. Okay, because if you think about it, a lot of people kind of just instant dump it into Vexor Navy issue. Now that the value has changed, because LP between Gallente and Caldari are even now tier 2, evenly at tier 2. It's not the same value anymore. It's not, it's not necessarily the same value monetarily, but it's not the same value in availability of the LP that people have, and how quickly people can actually farm the LP. Right? Now it's telling you that the LP for Gallente is more readily available than before. Decent call, not spectacular, but eh. And finally, for our sell from last week, Nano Factories. That was a good call. It was right at the crest too. Right at the crest. Let's go back 7 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ooh, a legit crest. So very similar to our previous call, where on the day of was actually the crest. So, and one of the things that I kind of caveated from last week was, if you're not able to sell it soon on the day of the call, you may have to wait for another cycle for the price action to basically cycle back up. All right. Is it going to cycle back up? I don't know. I mean, historically, it looks like it does, but you have to look at, are the same factors that affected it, that caused it to cycle in this way, are they still present? If you believe the answer to be yes, then sure, sounds good. But we'll see if it's still there. But it was a good call. I'm pretty happy with that call. Hopefully, someone was able to pick up on it. Looking at the volume, it does look like someone took advantage of it. Someone saw it. Someone saw it. Good. All right, so those were our calls from last week. Yeah, pretty satisfied with that. That was a good set of calls for not having done this in a while. So thank God I didn't blow it. All right, so let's go on to some discussion points here. All right, let's review some items from the MNC market real quick. Unlike last week, I actually don't have anything to pass on as far as what I've been trading into MNC or into catch region, because I actually haven't. I've been more involved with some hauling action, not just jump freighters, but setting up move contracts for my minerals to restart my capital building program in the low sec. All right, so concerning MNC market, now when I say it actually isn't just about MNC, it's MNC and catch. Public market offerings are being sold near or below G to sell. I don't know, man. Although I appreciate the effort to make participation feasible on a smaller wallet, is this sustainable? How does this balance of charity and profit seeking work out in the long run? From my experience, it's not sustainable, because eventually someone's gonna have to give and say, I can't afford to sell for zero profit anymore. I can't afford to sell for charity price anymore. And I mean, that's not necessarily, and that's just a natural reaction, right? I mean, you can't just give all the time. You have to be compensated somehow. That's why I always preach, hey, these guys that offer services, they need to feel compensated. They need to feel like it's worth it to continue, because if they don't feel like it's worth it to continue, then they're gonna stop, and you're gonna stop receiving services. Super simple, But the consumers don't see that, because consumers are consumers and they're selfish, which is very natural. It is what it is. Now let's talk about what the potential plays are for this. Now this may be a bit controversial, but I'll fess up. I've done this in Providence, and I was super public about it. And oddly enough, not many people even thought it was that bad. They thought it was a very natural reaction. So what are we talking about here? A potential play from this may be to capture modules, ships, or contracts being sold with enough margins to export back to high-sec hubs. From our particular region, that's going to have to be a relatively large margin, considering the hauling cost. All right. A major limiting factor of this will be transport costs. Another one will be the reaction from coalition if it was found out that you exported the goods intended for the conflict. However, how can it be proven unless you reveal it yourself? That or someone actually finds out through some sort of quality assurance measure. That's going to be a very dedicated quality assurance measure. I'm not sure if that's something that can be revealed in ESI. I don't know. Maybe. I honestly don't know. But either way, at the end of the day, the seller doesn't care. All the seller cares about is that, look guys, I'm helping. I'm selling stuff at or under G to sell. Basically at a loss to me, potentially. A lot of people will actually say, oh, I'm not selling that at a loss. But they're not valuing their time. They're not valuing the effort. Maybe not just their effort and their time and their money, but maybe the people around them that help support their operations. You got to be considerate of that stuff too. It is what it is. All right. So that's all my shtick on that one. So I'm just just offering some reality, and one of the things too, I didn't really write on my show notes here, but if it's so low that people basically can't compete against you anymore, you potentially could have driven off the competition that could have made the market sustainable in the really long run. All right, so think about that. Just because you feel good about having sold all your stuff at no profit, and because you did it for the purpose of charity, that's great. That's great on you. But you potentially could have scared away or pushed away people that could have seriously contributed to the market, for the duration of their stay within your coalition. So just saying, man. I know that's not really something that people think about when they're doing these things, but that's definitely something that I tend to start to think about because I've, having done this for a while now, you tend to start stepping back and start looking at larger pictures and larger frames until you hopefully get the Eve-size view. Not everybody can see the Eve-size view, so we'll see. Something to consider, though. And don't be afraid, chat, to contribute to the conversation. All right, so there's that. Do I see any potential plays personally after having just discussed that? I do. I actually do. Not necessarily on the public market, but I see it a lot in contracts. Not necessarily for the Tech 2 ships, but for the Tech 1 ships. It's being sold like dirt cheap. So you don't necessarily even have to export it. You can just buy it and hold it and then resell it at a later time. Saying. Now, as far as coalition efforts, how do you curb that kind of behavior? You have to kind of step in and actually set limits. Not just don't sell more than X% JITA, but you kind of have to do it at the other side of the spectrum as well, because you lose potential contributors to the market from a supply perspective if you don't actually balance the buy and the sell. Focusing so much on don't sell above 10% JITA mean that, yeah, of course that should affect your people that do predatory behavior in the market. But at the same time, if it's too low, you could be pushing out like honest marketeers, honest producers, because they simply can't afford to be charitable because they're profit seeking. It's so simple. All right, cool. All right, next one, guys. It's a quick market update for my own operations. Basically, let me read this out. So in this week, I've had 2. I need to do another one. Reaper says I buy a lot from contracts, wrongly fire sale price, and ship out to relist. Never thought to grab from the market itself, though. Yeah. I mean, it's sometimes when we're market. I'm definitely a victim of this myself. I get tunnel vision. For a good while there, I was literally looking at just contracts. But at the same time, I was missing some potential honest market play opportunities from the public market. It doesn't take that much more effort to look at both, honestly. But at the same time, I say that coming from a very low market activity. I should say low market activity, but not a very diverse market activity region. There's only a few people that seed, and they have their patterns. They have their naming conventions and things like that. So you kind of know who's who. And if you take that into account, a region like Amency, a region like Hatch, the big seeders, it's like probably, I don't know, less than 20 total. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Less than 20 total as far as the big seeders are concerned. So, all right, so I'm moving on my minerals, which I already I actually JF'd them out, but a portion of that was actually asset safetied out as well. So they've been collected, and now I'm moving them to Losec. I'm going to be moving them to Basgrin to continue building capitals there as I have before. Now, why would I do that? Now, I did that because it was too difficult to get minerals from Null due to harassment from a few weeks ago. Now, this is kind of like from a few weeks ago, and I was kind of late out acting on it, but I thought about just continuing with the action anyway. Okay. It was too difficult to get minerals from Null due to harassment from fraternity. All right, sorry about that. At that time, we were receiving some pretty good harassment from fraternity, and at this time, I worked on getting most of my assets out of pocket due to low confidence. I was basically like, I was this close saying, "Fuck this, I'm going home, and I'm taking my ball with me." That's why I was evacuating all my expensive gear. I just left one or two doctrine ships for participation, and that's it. All the stuff I basically fire sold some stuff. Not necessarily fire sold, but like I just continued. I was just very vigilant with my contracts, and I was down to the minerals. And I saw I'm moving them now to, one jump out from Basgarin, and it's taken 3 full freighter push X contracts to get them out of there. So I literally had that much stuff, man, and that's minerals, mind you, not ores, minerals. All right, that's one of those things. I mean, I just I wanted to be a cap builder in nullsec, but the raw material wasn't there. I mean, by it wasn't there, I mean like there was not enough mining going on to actually support it. And some of you guys might say, well, why don't you just mine it yourself? Bro, I'm not gonna mine. I got too much money to mine. I'd rather just buy it. I'd rather just position myself in a way that I can just buy it, because I don't want to mine it. That's too much effort, man. That's too much effort. I mean, it's one of those things, if you're going to be a builder, focus on building. You don't have to be a miner to be a builder. You have to build to be a builder. It's one of those things. So, yeah, I mean, Rygar says wrong place in null. Not place. I think the circumstances that we found ourselves in were just they were bad circumstances. The people were good. The corp was good. We did our best, but from the corp organization standpoint, we can only do so much. We can only do so much. Now, of course, the script has been flipped now, all right? But that doesn't mean. But I'm not just gonna put everything back to nullsec, Rygar says where I live, there's plenty of mining going on. Man, I hope so. Yeah, I mean, because if mining's your thing, and yeah, it would be nice if you could continue to mine, right? But as a builder, I wasn't able to build because I couldn't access raw materials from the market. I'm not in the business of harvesting it myself. It's inefficient. It's super inefficient, especially with the type of operation that I was intending to keep up with. Rygar's, I don't mind, man. Oh man, there you go. Well, of course, Delve or go home, right? So jealous. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, am I still low confidence? No, I'm definitely not low confidence. It's just that I need access to minerals. I need access to raw materials. If I can get that and if I think about it, as long as I can actually build, it's cheaper when you consider opportunity cost and convenience to actually build in lowsec and just jump it to null if you want to sell it there. I mean, to be honest, I know I can sell capitals in Basgarin. You can sell capitals in Basgarin. People actually go there to buy capitals specifically because they know it's being sold there. Just saying. All right. It may not be the Nosec crew that's selling it or that's buying it, but Losec people buy from there. It's a fairly well established capital ship market. So yeah. All right, and last bit of kind of market talk here for now is the faction warfare. We talked about Gallente and Caldari now equally at tier 2. Now I checked this about 2 days ago. Let's see if that's still true. Yeah, still tier 2, like mid tier 2, super even. All right, great. So what does that mean historically? Now from my experience, this is the point where it's most profitable potentially for both warring factions when they're both at tier 2, because you get more participation because they're at this point where there has to be that you're trying to create this tipping point scenario where, oh my god, guys, log in and we'll do plexes and get into fights and plexes, da da da, and all this time, at the same time, these plexes are getting done, people are making LP, and then they're selling LP. Right? Good to go. So it just breeds more activity when they're equally at tier 2. All right. So what happens to LP conversions when that happens? They tend to actually, instead of go flat on the low end, it actually picks up. So the more popularly LP converted items from each respective faction tends to actually see more action in the market. All right. Now this is a bit anecdotal because I actually don't know how to display that to you guys because it's that kind of because it's historical and it's like months if not years ago historical. I don't know how to pull that, so I'm kind of just revealing this in a very anecdotal way. So that's kind of a caveat with that. Now, is this gonna go to a position where Gallente are gonna start to pick up? Potentially. It tends to swing to either side. It does take longer now for the swings to happen, and I think we've come to the point where we've established that as the new normal because of citadels and things like that. And hopefully that tends to actually bring back players now that we've established what's normal. For a while, it actually players just weren't interested in participating with the way the citadels are and how it interacts with the faction warfare system. So I don't know if that's something that's in TCP's radar. I wouldn't think so. Honestly, I wouldn't think so. I mean, TCP doesn't really pay that much attention to low sec because there's other things that they need to pay attention to. I get that. It's just hopefully eventually it gets looked at, because I guess we kind of put ourselves in a position where instead of addressing the problem, we kind of just waited and made the problem normal. I don't know if that's a good position to be in. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's okay. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if that's okay. I mean, faction warfare as a thing is still around. People still participate. I still participate, so I guess we don't care that much in the end. We'll make do. Alright, some quick shill time here. Shill time. Alright, I just want to put out a new Eden report. I like this website, man. I really do. It's a good, quick source for Eve-related content, quick news, and I like how I like the speed that it delivers things. I like the length of the articles and things like that. It's direct to the point, and that's nice. I think I really like it. It looks like it's a fair number of contributors in there, so do check them out. I think they're a very good website to get a quick fix on Eve content. I think it's a good mix between written content and videos in there, so I'm pretty sure there's videos in there. Alright, and another shill time item here. So what this is actually an investment proposal from Batuka. We talked about him last week. So right now I think his operation is at that point where he's going to be asking for funds. And I just want to put out what his actual investment idea is and how to contact him and things like that. He actually was nice enough to put it all on a Google document so that people can actually view it, critique it, offer advice, or contact him in order to support him, things like that. Okay. All right, I'm not sure if he's here right now in chat, but if you have any questions, please direct them all to Batuka. It can be found in Discord. It can be found in SEC Lounge, and all. And I'm sure he's being a market person. I'm pretty sure he's kind of in the same places that market people tend to hang out in Discords and in-game chat channels. So do check him out. Out of the operators that I've had worked with in the past, he's maybe one of 2 or one of 3 that actually bothered to make a document. Now I'm not sure if he's already put this out in the forums, but hopefully he does to get just a little bit more coverage. And yeah, do check him out. Do check him out, man. Personally, man, if I had money, I'd actually offer some, but I'm super short right now. I'm super short because a lot of my plays are super long plays. Like Capital Shipbuilding in low sec is a super long play, so I'm kind of like I'm being that old man in Eve. You're like, no rush, guys, no rush. We'll all be trillionaires soon enough. No rush, no rush. Something like that. All right, but do check him out. And as far as I'm pretty sure it's in a document. Definitely got some good vouchers. You definitely got some good vouchers. Vouchers have been from people who themselves have either are ardent supporters of people who do operations like these, or people who actually have done operations like these and kind of give them, hey, this guy's good to go. I've worked with him before. You know, he's paid me back, or I got X amount from him before based on his previous investment opportunities. Boom. All right. So he's definitely the first ones I've done that I've worked with. He had like legit vouchers, so that's cool, man. I'm hoping that documents like these, methods like these, kind of become normal. It's good to have some sort of standardization when it comes to investments, when it comes to selling ideas, because then it becomes easier to digest as a form of, oh, this is actually like a normal thing to do in Eve. You know, I think that's really cool. You know, this is one of the last few, like, this is truly open world. You know, they're shilling an idea that, of course, you're doing it within the game mechanics, but the way you're doing it is not necessarily within the context of, oh, all this is happening inside the market window. No, it's not like that. So super proud of him. Hope he becomes successful in this. And if you have any questions, please direct them all to Batuka, either on Discord or in-game chat channels like SEC Lounge. All right. All right, last shill time. For real, guys. Last one. This one's actually a personal shill time. All right. Hopefully, starting next week, I'm going to be streaming for INN, Imperium News Network. Same time, of course. Same time, same type of content. Hopefully, actually more content actually give to you guys as I become acquainted with the talent pool and the knowledge pool that's in INN. So starting next week, I'm going to be doing this with INN, assuming all the transition happens well, of course. And we'll see how it goes from there. I'm super excited about it. Hopefully reaching a larger audience and being able to present this type of content for people. There may be some people out there that, for all we know, they're the next big trader and they just haven't been exposed to the mechanics yet. Who knows? Yeah. But looking forward to it, and hopefully you guys will follow us in INN in order to continue to do this type of market content. It's not just hopefully entertaining, but at the same time, hopefully it's educational for everybody. And with that, let's move on to our calls for the week. These are kind of easy calls, to be honest. I think these are super easy calls. Like very, very, not necessarily obvious. Maybe some of them. But let's go through all of them. The first one, I'm going to start off with our buys. I'm going to start off with Entosis Link 1. Lots of fights and conflicts happening in null. There's going to be an use of Entosis links. It's Entosis warfare, baby. It's one of those things. You would think that these things would be good to buy regardless of what's happening, but not really. It's actually quite a glut of them in the market, in JITA no less. And you can easily build this, in your home region, to be honest. We're focusing on the Tech 1 variant, not the Tech 2. Just not enough volume on the Tech 2. Alright, so I'm calling this as a buy. As you can tell, it has a very very well displayed support right here, probably like the 7 mil mark. Alright, so it's the first day where the 5-day moving average has crossed over the 20-day moving average. That doesn't necessarily mean that like the movement's over. If you were to take a look at it from a 90-day view, this is basically the best time to buy at the 90-day, at the when at the 90-day context. All right. Let's see if it's actually flippable at this point. This is probably one of the few Tech 1 items that are flippable, in all honesty. You can actually tell before even looking at the market data tab that's flippable by how large, relatively speaking, the Donjin channel is, which is the grayed out area in the chart. Seven to 10, yeah, that's very flippable, and you're getting a lot of action on the buy when it's got a solid support line like that we just showed. Oop, the other way, sorry. Yeah, 46%, sure. What volume? Sub 250? Oh, you may have to actually, I don't know if this is a lazy play. I should never tried to flip this. I'm not sure if this is a lazy play or if you gotta babysit this. I think it's worth playing though. Definitely worth playing for a daily flip. All right, next one's going to be a Republic Fleet Berserker. Historically speaking, Minotaur faction items don't tend to sell in the volume that you would expect in JITA. I guess it just takes so much effort to get the stuff here. Something along those lines, I guess. But right now it's a buy. 5-day moving average under the 20-day moving average. It's a buy, but at a really wild trade channel though. It's very volatile. Very volatile with the pickup on volume. So do trade at your own risk. Okay. Is it flippable at least for intraday? Let's take a look. 2.9 to 2.45. 22%. I guess it is. But looking at the volume, you could totally play this. It looks like it really goes through wild swings throughout the day though, so I think you can afford to be lazy on this. 22% gain potentially for intraday trading for Republic Fleet Berserkers. Yeah, sure, why not? All right, next one. Man, we haven't done a dead space call in a long time. This is actually one of our one of our favorite dead space calls for sure. Pithy A-type small shield booster. It's classic buy. It's basically is it potentially the beginnings of a kind. Actually, it's not a narrow one because the scale makes it look kind of weird. It looks like it's the beginning of a trade channel. When the mean price though is literally at the middle like that, it kind of doesn't know what to do. So you may be taking a risk. Okay, maybe taking a risk. We make a risk on all these. All right, but let's see if it's flippable. This used to be my favorite things to flip, man, because they were so easy to flip, so easy. But you kind of have to make sure to not fall in love with it. If you do, it's gonna stab you in the back. There's gonna be one aspect of that chart that you're gonna misread, and boom, you're lost everything. I nearly lost like a good chunk of my wallet flipping these dead space items. I was super confident because I was very successful, and then I made a really big call and it didn't pan out. It didn't pan out at all. I got stuck with bad product. But right now it's a 19% difference. That's pretty good considering the value per item. That's pretty good. That's really good. Now, mind you, the volume though is what really sways the price of these things. It only takes like five things that are bought at outrageous prices to either swing it back the other way or just make it super volatile for the day. All right, so do be careful. Low volume items tend to be volatile, but the actual level of volatility depends on you have to kind of like play it out in your head, like how volatile really is it. Well, what does that mean for you? Does that mean in terms of volatility over X number of days? Does that mean volatility over price? Is it a combination of the two? Whatever, you have to define that. Okay, but it has the potential to be volatile, so do be careful. And that's it for our buys. Now we're gonna carry on with our sells of the week. First one's Caldari Navy Hookbill. Super easy call. Super easy call. As Caldari was losing ground on the tier control, Hookbill was going up. Why is that? It's one of the easier things to convert for the masses. The faction frigate and one or two of the big selling modules and the light faction drones. Those are the top items that tends to be used as the platform for LP conversions. Right? Frigate, one or two modules, light faction drones. That's it. Because those are going to be unique to the faction. There are, of course, things that can be traded across multiple factions or multiple NPC corporations. Those tend to be like your implants and things like that. Okay. Customs offices or gantries or whatever. So easy call for a sell if you have the LP. Go ahead and exchange it before you miss the crest. All right, and we talked about that a couple of times. We had some examples of that. All right, so could this go down? Actually, I don't think it's gonna go down. I think it's going to achieve a high trading channel. Okay. All right. With volume, this price action is happening with volume too. So do be careful of that. Do be careful or really exploit it. All right. The next one's going to be the Comet, Fed Navy Comet. I love this ship, man. This ship's so good. It's so good. For the price, you're getting so much attributes out of this thing. All right, same thing. It's at a high. It's at a high because you got Gallente faction that's just reached that's went up a tier, and I bet you a good number of people are buying this to fight with. If you you have to kind of think about that too, right? So like this is the top end for Navy ships, man. This is the top end for Navy frigates. Honestly, I mean, I would say if you were to lay out the stats over the length of, I don't know, maybe 2 years, I bet you the Comet and the Slicer are pretty neck and neck in number of ships destroyed. Like those ships itself blowing up because they were being used, and then add on to that number of times that these ships have killed in the war zone. I bet you the two most popular are going to be Fed Navy Comet and Slicer. All right, that's my opinion. It's probably more anecdotal more than anything. I can't actually prove that, but from my experience. Hey, Batuka, what's up, man? Hopefully some folks will be contacting you soon. No, we just did shill time, man. Just did it. So hopefully, there's actually Batuka on chat right now, guys. If you guys are interested in conversing with him in chat, feel free. That's definitely want to see that. Alright, guys, where are we at here? Alright, and the last one I'm going to have for our cells for the week, Caldari Navy Adaptive Invulnerability Field. The one thing I'm going to start off with is this is a low volume item. Alright, low volume item. This is cell just because it's cresting, man. It's cresting. Alright. I don't think this is gonna go in a high. I don't think this is gonna go in a high trade channel. I think this is actually gonna go back down. Orthodox says, "What skills do you need and what level to make ISK in station trading?" Believe it or not, I don't know if you're aware, but there have been alpha challenges for station trading. Make an alpha, start station trading. I know that Reaver has done this. I don't know if Caleb's done it. I'm sure a lot of people have done it too. But from what I've been hearing, it takes effort. It takes knowledge. But the skills, the skills are just a part of the equation. All right. But to hone in specifically on your question, what skills do you need as far as SP skills? Focus on the ones that actually reduce taxes. Actually, no, you don't even. I guess you first have to define what do you mean by station trading, because what I mean by station trading may be different from what you mean in station trading. All right, especially with the way that we have citadels now, you don't actually need the tax reducing skills anymore, assuming you're actually both buying and selling in the same low tax citadel. And there's plenty out there. So there's that. All right. But as far as you need the range scale for sure to be able to for your orders to reflect more beyond your original system. Buy stuff that sells a lot, cheap and sell high. Is it procurement? I think it's procurement. Remote buy orders on the market. Yeah, this is it. Focus your first skill, from an SP skill to work on should be procurement, because then that will allow you to place orders from a low tax citadel and have it reflect beyond the station or beyond the citadel. Okay, as far as remote buy orders, and then from there, just depending on your actual style of training, just read through the trade skills and see what kind of makes sense for your particular case. believe, I think a lot of people kind of get caught in this trap where they think X, A plus B plus C will equal me, being a badass trader. Like, no, man, because a lot of it is done in context, and a lot of the time, and not only that, the context and how you actually intend to execute your trades. So it's very the path to success as a trader is very personalized, and with that, and because of that, I think people trip up when they try to do the same thing as their other friends that trade, but they fail and they kind of get discouraged. I mean, I'd get discouraged too. Cool. Tell him to sell a hook bill and comment, bro. I just called it. Cool. I just called it, bro. I'm curious what you have though. Yeah, boy. All right, orthodox. I know that's not really a very. It's probably not a helpful answer, but it's at least that's how I perceive trading. It's a personal journey, man. Because there's so much room for creativity in trading and markets in general that to approach it in a very linear way a lot of times leads people to actually fail. That's just what I've seen, man. Or not necessarily fail, but not be as motivated to continue and actually become better at it. All right. But if you have questions along those lines, please feel free to go to an in-game channel that's actually going to be very helpful, SEC Lounge. That's basically an in-game chat channel where a lot of traders hang out. And there's a Discord variation of that as well, where you can ask questions. And people are super happy and super helpful to actually guide you in becoming in your trading endeavors. Cool says someone's screwing with Dramules too. People still fly Dramules, really? It's been a while since I've seen a Dramule, like, for real. Cool though. It's crazy. Let's take a look. Actually, let me finish this first. Let me finish the Caldari Navy Adaptive call. Then we'll look at Dramule. Alright, this Caldari Navy Adaptive Invulnerability. It's at a high end right now because of the way the tier control is happening between Gallente and Caldari, I think. Again, do be careful though, because it is a very low volume play. I mean, routinely sub 5. Just saying, if anything, this would probably be I have the Caldari LP right now. I will exchange it right now and dump it into buy. I mean, that's the play I would do. That would be the safe play. If I were to actually try to flip this, like try to capture it from buy, I think I'm gonna get burned. I might get burned. Let's take a look at the image real quick. Cool. Is that the last week? Wait, what? Let's take a look at this. That's a lot of action for a week, man. That's a buyout. That void, man, bro, that's a buyout. Why would you buy out Dramules? Why the heck would you buy out Dramule? I don't know. No idea why you buy out Dramule, but someone bought him up. Someone legit bought him up. Wow. There hasn't been a balance patch that affected them, has it? I don't think so. Wow. All right. I gotta look into that, man. Holy crap. All right. So just going back, just I think we got some pretty good calls right now. Retribution's getting a nerf. Oh, so this would be the next best thing, huh? But to do a buyout like that, though. Yeah. Personally, not a fan of the Retribution. That's just me. It's not my style. I'd rather get an Ishkur. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Triglavian stuff? I don't know. I don't think so, right? Zila will spike to again drone bay. Ooh, Zila with a drone bay. Wow, drones, man. Ugh, too many drones. It's too many drones. All right. Besides that, I really don't have anything else, guys. Hopefully, I didn't butcher my Spanish intro too much. Uh, I found it kind of. I actually found it pretty challenging to speak Spanish in game terms. Well, hopefully I didn't massacre it too much. But yeah, that's definitely a thing I'll do. It's at the very least, it's good Spanish practice. So Spanish intros. There you go. Good calls. We went over some good topics. I think. Yeah, man. If you're a null, just try to maintain some sort of. Someone keeps screwing Canyon Extender. The proper name, Canyon Extender. Whoa, dude, that's a dump into buy. But it's like so late action. It's almost. It's like people. This picture reminds me of when people say you should buy Plex, but then they do it literally like a week later, when you probably shouldn't be buying Plex anymore. This picture literally is like a classic example of that kind of scenario. When people don't don't know enough of the market, but are more than willing to put billions of is over the words of somebody that they probably don't know that well. But that's what makes the market game interesting. Because then you have the kind of silly actions like that ends up meaning a lot in the end. All right, guys. I guess my only thing is just one last shill for me. Next week I'm gonna be in INN, hopefully, and continuing on with this type of content. Depending on how it goes and how things kind of happen in with the INN crew. And hopefully I can get a co-host, man. I could use a co-host. It's just I could totally use a co-host. Not gonna lie, totally not lying. But then we'll see. We'll see. But Cool says, how do you think the mutation stuff will affect the market for esoteric mods in the long run? I think it's very hard to determine that right now. I think we'll have a better idea once there have been dedicated balance patches on the mutation stuff. Because like with anything new, it's like everyone has like this aha moment, like, oh, I must do this new thing because it's the new hotness and it's gonna make me a lot of money. Until you get a Rorqual. And by Rorqual, I mean the Rorqual was shit. Then the Rorqual became very good. And it became less good, and less good, and less good after each balance patch until we have what we have right now. So the mutation stuff will probably go through that same pattern, more than likely. Now, there may be changes because of, or there may be different ways of going about it, if CCP employs things that they have learned from their balance patches with the Rorquals or the mining drones. But who knows? In the end, who knows, right? I think it's a great added content, though. I really, really do. I really, really do. All right, I think that's really all I have, guys. Any expectations for next week? Besides moving to Ireland. I expect a change in how contracts are probably happening, at least in the Mency after this show. I'm probably actually about to catch a lot of shit from corporate alliance right now. After saying what I did. But it is what it is, man. Don't put your stuff up so cheap that it entices me to take it back to dang Empire. Crazies. Because in the end, all the seller cares about is that it got sold. So do us all a favor and let's help make the market balanced and healthy, and not just serving one small portion of of the local player base. Seriously, and it doesn't. It only helps them when stuff like that happens. You know, whether through just make them feel good about themselves. It's definitely not hurting them, not helping their wallets. It's just making them feel better about themselves. No, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I'm just saying. Cool says I think a capital nerf is coming. Don't play with my emotions, Akulo. Damn, I'll barely use my capital as is. Barely use it as is. We'll see, man. That's one thing I really gotta have a better handle of is just when changes happen to capitals. It's not my wheelhouse. You know, it's not my wheelhouse. That's one thing I'm really looking forward to is maybe, you know, once I get to INN and there's gonna be people that can correct my way of thinking. Hey, Market Tycoon, what's up, buddy? Just as always, I know this is recorded and hopefully it will be on YouTube by tomorrow. It should be. I shouldn't. We actually, OBS didn't die this week, so I don't have to edit anything. They're very oppressive right now. Capitals are very oppressive right now. Legacy makes sure that they're very oppressive right now. Sweeple's failing. Sweeple. Such cancer. How do we beat cancer, Akulo? That's the end. I could taste another default T3D. Oh, about time. I love the Hecate. I just love how the ship looks. Alright, I think that's what I'm going to call it, guys. Great calls today, hopefully. I think we had a good showing for the stuff we called from last week. I'll work on the Spanish intro. And we're going to be in INN hopefully starting next week. Alright. And if anyone has anything they want me to go over as far as any market operations they want me to shill or anything like that, just let me know, man. Don't be shy about asking me about, hey, can you talk about this program I'm doing? Hey, can you talk about like my corporation or alliance? I'll talk about you, bro. It's cool. I'll talk about you. You know, it's totally fine. I'll shout out for you. It's all good. All right. And with that being said, you guys have a good night. All right. And we'll see you next week. All right, guys. All right. Thank you very much for tuning in. And hasta luego. Later, guys.